I'm Shannon, and this is Amy's Band Book Buzz. And today I'm going to talk about the book The Color Purple by Alice Walker. Um, it was a very popular movie way back when. I remember it was one of my mom's favorite movies. Um, but it is banned and sometimes controversial because of its content. Um, I have my copy of The Color Purple, and hopefully you can see part of it. I know it's weird. There we go. Anyways, um, so the book, it's about this woman named Celia, and she is um, Celia, excuse me. She's grown up in a very poor part of Georgia, and the sad part is around in this era that the story's written in, she is looked down upon. She's abused by her own family, physically, um, sexually abused. Um, the only thing she wants to do is to protect her sister Nettie, who does the same thing. Um, she is sold to a very older man, and he is a um, she is there to clean his house, cook his food, do any chores, and to bear his children, and basically to do whatever he says. She needs to obey. Um, and this book is really it's I find it's very hard hitting. Um, it's if you watch the movie, you see the life that Celia has lived. The movie itself, The Color Purple, stars Whoopi Goldberg, Danny Glover, and Oprah Winfrey, among a whole bunch of other famous people. Um, and it's a movie that when I watch it, I just can't put it down. But then I decided it wasn't until years later that I actually read the book, The Color Purple, and then recently I read it again. And in the book, it's written in a diary format. It's Celie talking to God. A lot of her entries start out with "Dear God," and this goes on. It's like she's writing a letter, and it goes over through like 20 years. She records and she doesn't even realize it. She is discovering herself, discovering what she could be. She strives to escape, but yet she always wants to protect her family, her sister, her children. She even became very close to her husband's mistress. Um, and then she also um, finds a kind of friendship with her stepson's wife, Sophia, um, who wants to fight for independence, but she does something wrong and she gets punished for it. A lot of times, whether you're doing something wrong or not, if they think it's wrong, then they will punish you for it. If you watch the movie, I recommend that you read the book and vice versa. You get a lot of insight in both. Um, it's an African American historical fiction book. And one thing I found was interesting, not really interesting, but I've read other stories um, about African American history, and even after, from people, when they were, if they were a slave or a freed slave, I read those types of books. But I was appalled by reading several books that had the kind of same theme, where in a poor rural neighborhoods, um, you know, your own family treated you like garbage, and it was always like father like son. So if the father beat or raped or their his children or his wives, the son did the same thing, and then it continued. Um, Eventually, Silly, she dreams of escaping, but some things happen, and um, basically the rest is, for you for to read. Um, and but I must say that it is a very empowering book, and it doesn't matter what your race is, what your cultural beliefs are. It's a very powerful book. I just wanted to read a section of the book, and this is Seely. Dear God, poor little Squeak, come home with a limp, her dress ripped, her hat missing, and one of the heels come off her shoe. What happened? Us asked. Oh, by the way, she writes as she speaks, so it's actually very interesting. He saw the Hodges in me, she say, and he didn't like it one bit. Harpo come up the steps from the car. My wife beat up, my wife rape, he say. I ought to go back there with guns to set fire to the place, burn the crackers up. Shut up, Harpo, say Squeak. I'm telling it. And she do. Say, the minute I walked through the door, he remembered me. What he say? Us asked. Say, what do you want? I say, I come out of interest I have in seeing justice is done. You say you want, he asked again. I say what y'all told me about Sophia not being punished enough. Say she happy in prison, strong girl like her. Her main worry is the thought of ever being some white woman's maid. That's what start the fight. I say, Mayor's wife asked Sophia to be her maid. Sophia said she's never going to be no white woman's nothing, let alone maid. That's so, he asked, all the time looking me over real good. Yes, sir, I say. Say prison suit her just fine. Shoot, washing and ironing all day is all she do at home. She got 6 children. That a fact, he say. He come from behind his desk, leaned over my chair. Who your folks, he asked. I tell him my mama's name, my grandmama's name, and my grandpa's name. Who your daddy, he asks. Where you get them eyes? I ain't got no daddy, I say. Come on now, he asks. Ain't I seen you before? I say, yes, sir. One time about 10 years ago, when I was a little girl, you gave me a quarter. I sure did appreciate it, I say. I don't remember that, he say. You come by the house with my mama friend, Mr. Jimmy, I say. Squeak look all around us, then take a deep breath, mumble. Say what? Asked Odessa. Yeah, say Shug. If you can't tell us, who you gonna tell? God? He took my hat off, say Squeak. Told me to undo my dress. She dropped her head and put her face in her hands. Oh God, say Odessa, and he your uncle. He say if he were my uncle, he wouldn't do it to me. That be a sin. But this was just a little fornication. Everybody guilty of that. She turned her face up to Harpo. Harpo, she say, do you really love me or just my color? Harpo say, I love you, Squeak. He kneeled down, tried to put his arms around her waist. She stand up. My name, Mary Agnes, she say. So, if you haven't read it, or you have read it, but it's been a very long time, pick it up and read it again. And if you haven't watched the movie, it's still on DVD. I own it. um, but this has been Amy's Banned Book Buzz, and I will talk to you again next week. Be safe and be well. Thank you.